Boom, we are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the Nolan Hawkeye Anthony YouTube channel. And I thank all of you for being here, wherever you may be. And of course, however you may be listening. I'm going to rattle off a few topics very quickly. I want to keep this as a condensed video. And those topics, of course, are Iowa being in the Citrus Bowl, what I think about bowl games in general these days, number one. Number two is the transfer portal. And the third, I may touch upon an article by Blackheart Gold Pants with regards to Brian Ferentz, Kirk Ferentz, Iowa losing to Michigan, and things like that. I thought it was a pretty strong article. And, you know, it does state a lot of similar views that I and a lot of Iowa fans share. By the way, guys, like, comment, share, subscribe. You guys know the drill. If you guys want to support your boy vis-a-vis his coffee habit, you guys can donate through the channel or check out the description box and click on the Cash App or PayPal link. Without further ado, let's get into this. So, first thing I want to talk about is the transfer portal. You know, here's the fact, guys. You know, when I did the Michigan versus Iowa postgame, well, actually, before I go there, just an aside, I want you guys to comment in the comment section if you watch content through Rumble. Rumble is definitely something I'm going to consider posting the content on. I do think it is becoming an alternative, or a major competitor to YouTube. And I want to reach you guys any way I can. You know, it's going to be kind of hard to get legitimate stats on this without just dipping my toe in and seeing who checks out the videos on Rumble and how many people go there. Because on Facebook, there's a certain age range that tends to be on Facebook. Twitter, I don't have as much of a footprint as I do on Facebook or YouTube. So, but still, if you, use Rumble as a video platform, content platform, please comment below and let me know. All right, so the transfer portal. Guys, this is the wild, wild west. It is college sports, specifically football and basketball, men's basketball, okay, has become, and I know a lot of Iowa fans, you know, I get a lot of requests to cover the women's basketball team. And, you know, I get a lot of, or not a lot of people, but definitely a few people who have interest in that and want to see it covered. The bottom line is the top two earning sports in college sports and even at Iowa is men's basketball and football. I think women's basketball at Iowa probably does way better than it does at other programs, but it's still not top two. But the transfer portal, and going back to the college football topic, college sports, college basketball and college football has become basically a G League, a professional G League, or like professional lower division. It's kind of hard to come up with a like for like comparison because college sports is still technically amateurism. But because of the financial side, in reality, in practice, it is for men's basketball at major universities, Power 5 universities, and football, okay, it is more like, if not like a few notches above the G League, or like, you know, in soccer in Europe, they have like La Liga and the Premier League have relegations, and there's multiple levels. You know, there's the Premier League, and then below that is the championship, and you know, and it's this multi-tiered system in which teams are elevated and relegated, stuff like that. So, like I said, it's not a like-for-like comparison, but as far as the monetary value and the players getting paid, it has become low-level professional sports. And the transfer portal is partly a reflection of that, but it's not the entire story. The transfer portal, because that would be more in line with NIL, and it definitely influences the transfer portal. But the transfer portal more has to do with the freedom and the lack of restrictions on amateur athletes. Because we have gotten to a day and age now where it's very hard to justify making money without giving said money back to the individuals that help earn it and are like major contributors towards earning it in some way or another, in some value outside of academic scholarship for adults. It's very hard to justify not giving adults over the age of 18 money back or freedom of movement in this day and age when they are adults. And so this concept of amateurism, quite frankly, I think is going to go by the wayside. I think it's going to go by the wayside by the rest of the sports as well. And, you know, I think this is going to affect the other sports in college sports, especially at smaller programs and even larger programs, way more than it affects football and basketball. Because no matter where you're at, whatever school you're at, obviously some schools make more than others, but your football and basketball team make a lot. And, you know, now with these other sports, depending on the university that you're at, you may still be able to get large donors towards, you know, top tier athletes for a specific sport. But these lower level teams, there's no way that they're going to be able to bankroll that. So, but overall, the concept of restricting movement and restricting compensation for adults by any means is gone. And I really think the whole concept of amateurism is going to be gone very soon. And, you know, personally, what do I think about that? I mean, you know, mostly I'm okay with it, you know, because I do believe in people earning as much money as they can. I want people to earn as much money as they can in their lives. I'm not somebody who believes that just because this person makes a lot of money, that means that this person's going to make that much less money. Okay. I'm not somebody who believes that. And yes, I am somebody who values capitalism and a free market and things like that, quite frankly. So, you know, but I will say that when it comes to the nature of the college American system, yes, it totally affects that and basically wipes it out. And yes, no matter, you know, what you think about the freedom of movement or lack of freedom of movement and compensation, there were some positives to the concept of amateurism and this student athlete situation. But it's gone, guys. I mean, you know, I think eventually here soon, a big debate is going to come forth. And I wasn't really intending for this episode to go this direction, but I think eventually here, hold on. Just got to get my water. Recovering from a cold from last week. But your boy still gave you content. I think that eventually sometime in the near future, there's going to be a legitimate conversation around the NCAA, the need for it, and if there is a need for it, what their role is, especially with college football and basketball. I think that we're going to get to a point where either college sports is going to dissolve because it is so similar to professional sports, or it will just become a secondary, very, very profitable and very, very popular pro league. It'll either dissolve into the already existing pro leagues, or it will coexist as a secondary, slightly less than professional league, which is basically what it already is, guys. So the transfer portal specifically, Diante Vines, like I said, I wasn't intending on it to go that direction, but Diante Vines and Ontario Thompson have already declared that their intention to hit the transfer portal. And it's, what are my thoughts on each of them? Well, for Diante Vines, I completely understand. I 1000% understand it. I'm not sure that if I was in Diante Vines' situation and I was playing for a school like Iowa that struggled so much to incorporate my skill set and a winning scheme offensively, yeah, I would consider leaving too, because at the end of the day, guys, while personally I value loyalty, and yes, I'm an Iowa Hawkeye fan, and of course I want, players to stay at Iowa. These guys have aspirations of making the NFL, and no, while it's still a lower chance than it is a good chance, they still have a chance to make the NFL and make big bucks. So yeah, and on a big picture level, in the past 2 years, Iowa has lost Brody Brecht. They were unable to reach his imagination when it came to his future in football, in particular with him in particular, and what he could do in the Iowa Hawkeye football offense. And so he decided just to stick with baseball. They lost, and who knows if he would have been a good or solid football contributor. We have no idea, but he was on track to do so. I mean, the guy was playing as a true freshman. We lost Keegan Johnson, who has been a legitimate contributor for Kansas State, albeit not much better than what he did at Iowa. But let's take a look at his stats. Iowa lost Charlie Johnson, which was a complete shocker to most, including myself, because he was in line to be a top guy at Iowa. He had 196 yards, 21 receptions. But I think he battled injuries this year. Arland Bruce, it's really hard to say because of the situation that he has dealt with the investigation. But Iowa, guys, I was having people ask me and comment, well, if Iowa is 10-2, how can they justify getting rid of Brian Ferentz? I'll tell you how. They're just going to do it, okay? And they need to do it. I'll tell you how they're going to justify it. Looking at the offensive statistics, looking at how many offensive players have transferred from the University of Iowa, looking at the amount of offensive players who make the NFL as opposed to the defensive side of the football. Okay? That's how. So, now the good news is, but guys, I will not be surprised. I'm telling you right now, and this is the main thing that I want to emphasize. Do not be surprised at anybody who decides to transfer. Okay. This is a new world that we are entering into with college football. Okay. Would it be nice to have Diante Vines next year? Of course. Him, Caleb Brown, Seth Anderson, that'd be a nice trio. And who knows, maybe Iowa can somehow convince Diante Vines to return. I like the development of Jacob Bostic, and Jarriett Bowie, the redshirt and true freshman. But I got to tell you guys, I totally understand why he decided to hit the transfer portal. Now, Ontario Thompson is a little bit of a head scratcher. Again, don't be surprised, and I'm not surprised. But I think that this is a silly move on Ontario's part. He did not trust the plan. He did not trust Phil Parker and Kelvin Bell to get him to the promised land. He was on track, and I really think that he was going to be either a starting D tackle next year or the third in the rotation of D tackles and seeing legitimate snaps. But, he thinks otherwise. He thinks that it'll be better for him to go elsewhere. And the question that I ask is myself is, where's he going to go that he thinks is going to be better? Like, he didn't play enough to where a bunch of other schools that are at Iowa's level or better are going to offer him. That's not the case. So at best, he's going to have to go to a smaller school. And yeah, he might have a more guaranteed shot, but even that, it's not that much more than what he already had at Iowa. I mean, the guy did have a clear path with Logan Lee, Joe Evans graduating. Now, yes, Iowa does have Yaya Black returning. They do have Aaron Graves, and they do have Jeremiah Pittman. And who knows, and Max Llewellyn. They do have a lot of defensive linemen in their rotation that are returning. But he would have a legitimate shot at being in the rotation of 8. I think Aaron Graves will likely slide in there for Logan Lee, and that would have been the spot for him, that backup spot. But he thought otherwise. And who knows if he's actually good enough? Who knows? He might actually be a starter. The truth is that Iowa has enough depth and have recruited well enough at the defensive line position to where they can shoulder this burden. And this won't make a huge impact, but on a depth level, yeah, it'd be nice to have him. They'll probably either find a really under the radar recruit in this current cycle. I think they're going to hit the transfer portal. I think Iowa, from this last year and seeing the impact that the transfers that they got from this past year have had on the Iowa program, they're going to hit the portal big now from henceforth. Okay. And we're going to see an Iowa that we have never seen before when it comes to their strategy of constructing their football roster. Now, the fundamentals will be the same, finding good team guys that can actually add to the roster. So if I had to guess, they'll find a defensive lineman in the portal, probably a guy who can play both end and D tackle to give them some depth. But Iowa has tons of D linemen on their roster. And honestly, the defensive line position under Kelvin Bell has been one of the best, most consistent position groups, and in my opinion, has been the catalyst of Phil Parker's defense elevating the past 4 or 5 years, it has been the defensive line. But just going back to the transfer portal, the success Iowa had with Nick Jackson, Rusty Feth, even Cade McNamara, Eric All, regardless of his injury, Seth Anderson. I mean, think about it, guys. The only guy that they got in the transfer portal who did not see significant time was offensive tackle Dejon Parker. That's it. Every other guy was a key contributor for the Iowa Hawkeyes. So that's pretty much that, guys. I mean, it definitely sucks that, those guys are leaving, but don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if any other names come forth, especially some big names, because we're in a new day and age, and that's just the way it is, And I saw somebody write, the portal giveth and the portal taketh, and it works both ways. It works for the players, and it works for the coaches. The bottom line is, just as players can leave and really hurt a team, and they have freedom of movement, teams also have a certain freedom to how they can construct their football roster, and it works both ways. I mean, it's a double-edged sword. To tell you the truth, I think a lot of people see this as benefiting the players more, but I think it really benefits the coaches more, because now they can really attack their roster both ways, both in the free agency as well as the concept of signing the dotted line and contractually having somebody come to their school by means of that. So that is that with the transfer portal. I did want to show the by the way, guys, please let me know what you guys think of the new camera, if you guys can notice the difference. The channel continues to grow, and I want to give back to you guys, with you guys showing faith in me in any way I can. At the end of the day, this is still a hobby, but if I can and it's in the budget, I'm more than willing to do that. I just wanted to see Kansas State. They listed Keegan Johnson. Yeah, they do have Keegan Johnson as a starter, but just like Iowa, they don't really throw the football very much. So the second thing, really quickly, is Iowa will be playing Tennessee in the Orange Bowl. It's a decent game. Of course, I would have rather seen Ole Miss, but because Alabama beat Georgia, and they got into the college football playoff, that is what put because everybody favored Ole Miss to play Iowa versus Orange Bowl. That's what I typed in. Everybody favored Iowa to play Ole Miss. I think this will be a pretty evenly matched game, and I think this is a chance for Iowa to get a good, solid victory. How much of this game really matters? I mean, it matters on the record, so it does matter. I see a lot of people in the media calling bowl games that are not New Year's Six or specifically playoff games, exhibition games, and glorified exhibition games. I wouldn't go that far, because they still count. I mean, if you lose, your record will reflect it. So they count as much as any of the other games on as far as your record goes. Now, does it have the same implication of, if you win this, you'll play another game and advance, or does it have tournament implications, advancement implications, or playing in your conference champion? No, it doesn't. Okay. But it does have implications as far as your record. And of course, it's great extra practice time. And for a program like Iowa, that's huge, huge. Now, how many of Tennessee's players will play in this game? We'll see. I am looking forward to the playoff going to 12 teams, because I think the current four-team playoff has basically made the bowl system moot. and void of attention or interest. But, I mean, at the end of the day, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Of course, they're going to play in this game. Should be a good game. We'll see. I'll do my game preview. We'll see who decides to play for Tennessee, who decides to sit out. We'll see the same with Iowa. And we'll go from there. So Iowa versus Tennessee in the Citrus Bowl, and I think it's a good bowl for Iowa. I would love for Iowa to play in a New Year's Six bowl, but let's be honest, unless you're a top 15 team in the country, what's required to do that is to beat one, if not more than one, top 25 teams, which Iowa did not do this year. I don't even think Wisconsin was ranked when they played them. You're not going to play in the New Year's Six Bowl. You're going to hover around that 15 to 20 range. So the last thing that I wanted to touch on, like I said, I'll do the game preview for you guys there on that. I'll still pay attention, and I do think that the game does matter. If I had to give a grade on how much it matters or a percentage, I'd probably give it like a 60% percentage. And personally, and I know the Iowa players feel the same way, I would love for Iowa to be 11-3. It'd be one of their best records of all time. Okay. There's a lot to play for. An 11-win season is not easy to come by. I think Iowa is going to struggle in this game because Tennessee actually does have a decent offense, and the SEC tends to have good athletes. I'm not somebody who thinks that the SEC completely outclasses a school like Iowa when it comes to athletes, but again, like we saw in Michigan, but in a different way, because Tennessee has a different style than Michigan, the pressure is going to be put on the defense the entire game because of the ineptitude offensively for Iowa. Let's see here. Kyle McCord hit the transfer portal. Dylan Gabriel from Oklahoma hit the transfer portal. I mean, guys, this is a new day and age. It just is. And, guys, if you don't think that these top players hit the transfer portal, and even not top players, okay, if you don't think these players have an ego and want to have their ego stroked one more time, or because they haven't had it stroked as much as they did coming out of high school, when they were getting recruited all the time, and they want to hear the offers, and they want to hear the you're the man. You're lying to yourself. Of course, that's part of this. Have you seen how much attention are given to these recruits and how much they post about it? We live in a social media age. They love this stuff. And yeah, if you think about it, I wasn't planning on coming back to this, but if you think about it, Iowa, or excuse me, if you were somebody in these player situations, and I kind of view them in the same light as like a businessman. Are you going to try and test the waters to get the best deal possible and make the most money? Yeah, you probably are. Now, the real question that you have to, and situation that you have to think about is the weighing of testing the waters, testing how much money I can get versus what is really best for me as a football player and developing me and getting to the next level. Some players care more about this. Some players care more about the shine and the here and the now, and getting rizzed up, and all this. And they don't see very much of, okay, what's best for me as a football player? Where is the best place for me to be coached, regardless of how much money I can make in college? That is really the dilemma that they are in as athletes. So Blackheart, this is from Blackheart Gold Pants. I think it's a really good article. Let's see here. Iowa football. Hawkeyes can win on any given Saturday. So I'll skip the top part. That's the title of it's Monday Musings, any given Saturday. You know, you guys would be surprised by this, but I have never heard, and I have one of the biggest Iowa podcasts. I have never heard from any of these major, not major, but these like these Iowa contributors that are associated with like a Blackheart Gold Pants or a Hawk Central or, a publication. Never. I've never, not once, heard from any of these people. Well, they did it to me again, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that. Look, in terms of the actual game itself, Iowa's defense was everything we've come to expect. They were all over the field. They made it nearly impossible for J.J. McCarthy to feel comfortable, and he wasn't very special. I agree. They got to him better than almost every other game they played this season. It was perfect. It was elite. It was playoff worthy. Agreed. And the offense let them down. Again, no shocker there. We all saw the tweets after the game. It is what it is at this point. Iowa cannot score or move the football, and they especially cannot do it against the top-tier Big Ten programs they face or in the great city that is Indianapolis. As I said in the postgame, we're basically at a situation where Iowa, their game plan works against the below average to average football teams, but the above average to elite teams, especially the elite teams, they're not winning because the things that the below average teams and average teams do that lend itself to Iowa beating them, those above average and elite teams don't do that. And so Iowa is forced to beat them straight up, and it just ain't going to happen. And ultimately, that's why we're getting a change. Do I care about the Citrus Bowl? Not really. It's an exhibition that means nothing. Iowa, I disagree with that. As I said, I think that, sorry, guys, I had to stretch my back. I think that, I've already said what I think about it. It matters for the record. And yes, it would be nice to beat a SEC team, regardless of who plays and who doesn't. And yes, it'd be nice to win an 11th game. And thirdly, it'd be nice to beat a ranked team. Iowa will go play great defense and probably make Tennessee's day a living hell and will maybe score 10 points. A month of doing nothing but practicing, unfortunately, will mean very little for this offense. I could not agree more. And it's a very depleting thought. There are too many injuries and too many challenges and far too big of a talent gap for it to get better. I disagree with the talent gap. I think Iowa has plenty of talent. The issue is the coaching. Injuries are definitely a part of it, and scheme all the way down. Change and an example that it's not talent is players from the Iowa offense transferring elsewhere and getting good snap counts at legitimate programs, or having breakout seasons like Charlie Jones did. Charlie Brown. Change is but I agree with everything else. Change is so desperately needed, and it cannot come soon enough. I just hope that Kirk and Beth Gates are getting on the same page about what needs to be done, because the proof is in the pudding. Kirk feasts on the lower part of the Big Ten and struggles against the Blue Bloods. If he wants to contend with them and wants to make the playoff every couple of years, he needs to finally adapt. Time will tell what's in store for this program going into the new college football landscape. We're already there. But despite what happened on Saturday, and despite all the money I lost on 0.5 and a 22.5 spread, one thing is for certain. With Phil Parker and LeVar Woods at the helm, Iowa is 2/3 of the way to being a consistent playoff contender. I couldn't agree more. And I really want to stress that to you Iowa fans. That is why people like me are clamoring for a change, because while, yes, it's good to be happy about what you have and content with what you have, there's nothing more with being realistic about what is achievable. And at the end of the day, everything in life is about improvement and getting even that much better. If you ain't first, you're last. If you're not going forward, you're staying stagnant. That doesn't happen in business. That doesn't happen in professional. It doesn't happen in any landscape. Okay. You have to move forward. And this is a very achievable thing. Time will tell what's in store for the program. Oh, I already read that. It is entirely up to Kirk Ferentz to either reinvent himself and this program, or to step foot into this new era and take their spot inside that top 12. Or he will be left behind and we will, or let me reread that. It is entirely up to Kirk Ferentz to either reinvent himself and this program to step foot into this new era and take their spot inside the top 12, or he will be left behind and we will continue to go in December with a nothing burger of a Citrus Bowl to play for and nothing else. The jury is still out on what direction the old ball coach is going to ultimately go. But if you give me until Saturday, I'm sure I'll eventually sell myself on the fact that Kirk knows he can have a special stretch to end his career. Something I have said thousands of times on here. You guys know I have. He can have a historic end to his coaching career that most coaches do not have. To end his career, if he just lets go of his offensive ideals and lets someone take over and recruit for their own system. Will they have to be conservative-ish? 100%. But having a top 75 offense, I say top 80, but I'll take top 75 too, with his developmental powerhouse program that churns out quality special teams unit and defenses, will get you there. It will help you beat these teams that continue to leave us begging for more. We're so close, Kirk. You're so close. Go for it. Take it. And maybe, just maybe, on any given Saturday, you might just find yourself winning a playoff game, and then maybe, hold on, I gotta copy this, and then maybe another playoff game, and maybe, just maybe, another playoff game. And then one day you'll leave this Iowa program in a better place and you'll be remembered forever. I agree, guys. And I wanted to read that because I thought it was a great write-up, a great article. Rarely do I say that about the Iowa contributors, but props where props are due. And, you know, I completely agree. It's achievable. It's within grasp. And, you know, Kirk, it just needs slight adjustment. And, you know, will it happen? We'll see. You know, sometimes even the smallest changes are the hardest things to do. You know, it's weird because when you look at Kirk Ferentz, as I've said many times, just like 7 years ago, we were hearing the Kirk 2.0. It's Kirk 2.1. It's Kirk 2.2. Or Kirk 3.0, and this constant like evolving of Kirk Ferentz, especially with the offensive identity and just the nature of the football team. But in a lot of ways, that kind of ran its steam, and at this time, it kind of seems like he only did that to placate rather than doing it because he actually believed it. And when he could go back, he did go back. So we'll see, guys. We'll see. You know, I think it's very achievable. It's very possible. And as an Iowa fan, you have to ask yourself, ultimately, are you okay with the situation where we're at, as I said in the post game, which is that Iowa can definitely win 10 games depending on the schedule. They'll never play in another Big Ten championship game because the conferences or the divisions are gone, but they may win 10 games, 9-10 wins, but they're basically guaranteed to lose to Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan every single time, or any team of that caliber. with USC, Oregon, Washington, UCLA coming into the conference, a lot to be said there. And it's not going to be as easy as it was in the past for Kirk Ferentz to get away with what he's been doing. So, all right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. You guys know the drill. If you guys want to donate, you guys absolutely can. Description or hitting the donation button on the YouTube video. But I'm very grateful for your viewership, irregardless. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy willow. In fact, our feelings, because your feelings just don't matter. Love you guys. See you guys next time. Go Hawks. Bye.